The Colombian National Registry's office warned of the low number of registered electoral witnesses for the presidential elections of May 29th. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, does not rule out the possibility of an agreement with the United States so as not to exclude countries of the hemisphere from the Summit of the Americas. In Russia, the Undersecretary of the Security Council, Alexander Venediktov, denounced that the United States has a network of 400 biological military laboratories in the world. Hi, this is From the South. I am your news anchor, Dio Martin, from the Telstar studios in Havana. We begin with the news. The Colombian National Registry's office warned of the low number of registered electoral witnesses for the presidential elections of May 29th. 11 days left for the elections. The political campaigns have only registered a little over 1,000 electoral witnesses since the process began last April 29th. So the National Registry has extended the deadline for the political groups to present their witnesses to the more than 100,000 voting tables to be set up. Registry official Alexander Vega recently urged the different political forces to speed up this process. According to the Action Plan of Electoral Guarantees, the deadline for political groups to nominate their witnesses will be extended until May 27th. In the same context, through a statement, the Electoral Observation Mission spoke against gifts given by some companies and political groups for supporting specific candidates. They also denounced those businesses who exert pressure on their workers to interfere in their decision to vote for any candidate, mainly against the favorite to win the elections, according to the official polling results, Gustavo Petro. The organization also called on the authorities to investigate companies that are allegedly using fear speech and do not provide a safe space for people to freely exercise their right to vote. In Colombia, presidential candidates continue campaigning and rallying their potential voters. The candidate for the historical pact, Gustavo Petro, was in Bucaramanga on Wednesday with his running mate, Francia Marquez. There he made a promise to protect the water and the Central-Urban Prairie, and he said that his administration would ban fracking. This Thursday, Petro will travel to the city of Cali to meet with his followers. Meanwhile, candidate Federico Gutierrez visited the city of Valledupar, where he spoke about responsible energy transition and the energy prices regulation in the Caribbean coast. On Thursday, Gutierrez will travel to the Department of Huila to continue with his campaign. Let's see more about the region. The Uruguayan parliament will interpellate the Minister of Economy, Azucena Arbeleche, due to her criticized management in office. Parliamentarian Betiana Diaz stated that the minister should appear before a hearing regarding the situation of poverty, inflation, and low salaries that the country is facing. The minister presented a package of measures which established a 4% increase in the allocation to the social program called Equity Plan, where a complement to the child allowance was incorporated, and the freezing of some fuel prices. According to the parliamentarian, this package provides for a tax discount to those who receive family allowance through a digital application. The representatives of the Broad Front detailed that the measure was requested late and that it is ineffective since the salary losses are not recovered. An increase of power failures affects the Dominican Republic Thursday as a result of energy deficit in the country's national electrical system. The coordinating authority of the nation's interconnected electric system indicated that an interruption in one of its plants affected at least 20 circuits of the 3 existing distribution companies. Residents of eastern Santo Domingo and other territories expressed their indignation and reported that they remained without power for 6 to 8 hours. The Energy Institute of Santo Domingo's Autonomous University denounced that in the middle of these failures, the lowest income customers have their electricity tariffs increased by 36%. Cuba's Ministry of Public Health received on Thursday a donation of medical supplies from Jordan. The shipment was sent to the Caribbean island by members of the Jordan-Cuban Friendship Association. Delegates from both countries pointed out that this donation is destined to support the process of vaccination against COVID-19 in Cuba. The donors also highlighted the island's achievements in dealing with the pandemic in spite of the blockade imposed by the United States. With more news on Cuba, the country commemorated the 127th anniversary of the fall in combat of the national hero Jose Marti. In the Caribbean island, every year cultural activities are carried out in public, educational, and military institutions commemorating the date and remembering Marti's legacy for the country. The authorities paid tribute to him at the mausoleum in the Santa Ifigenia Cemetery in the city of Santiago de Cuba, where his remains rest. Conferences, panels, and reading sessions were held throughout the country promoting Marti's political and literary work. In the municipality of Iguaní, the 27th edition of the National Children's Art Exhibition Donde Crece la Palma, where the palm trees grow, it was held. Its objective is to encourage new generations to remember the Cuban revolutionary by means of the creation of works that are chosen by a jury of distinguished intellectuals and experts of the life of Cuba's national hero. Jose Marti was a writer and revolutionary who dedicated his life to the liberation of the Caribbean nation. He fell in combat on May 19, 1895 in the locality of Dos Rios in eastern Cuba during the last war fought by the Cuban people to achieve independence from the Spanish colonial rule. Marti, a Cuban of universal projection who surpassed the frontiers of his time and became the greatest Hispanic-American political thinker of the 19th century. We're going to take a short break now. Please join us again after this. Hi, and welcome back to From the South. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, does not rule out the possibility of an agreement with the United States so as not to exclude countries of the hemisphere from the Summit of the Americas. During his morning conference, the Mexican head of state informed that there is still no formal response from the United States regarding the request to include all the countries of the continent in the summit. López Obrador explained that although there were meetings between his government and U.S. officials, so far no agreement has been reached to allow the participation of all nations without the exclusion of countries such as Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. However, López Obrador expressed his confidence that his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden will be able to change his foreign policy with respect in regard to Latin American countries.
I have confidence in President Biden. It is a time for a great change. It is a time to initiate a new stage in the relations between the countries of the Americas. And it will be an example for the world. And only President Biden can do it.
In Peru, the Ministry of Health declared a health alert to prevent the spread of smallpox variant. The Minister of Health, Jorge López Peña, stated that although there are still no infections of the so-called monkeypox in the country, the epidemiological alert was established as a preventive measure in view of the recent cases reported in Europe. The disease, which originated in Africa, has similar characteristics to smallpox, with symptoms such as headaches, fever, muscle pain, and blistering of the skin. Recently, countries such as Spain, Portugal, and the United Kingdom reported multiple cases of the disease. Guatemala's indigenous authorities are advancing in a new day of protests in rejection of Bill 5923, which, in their opinion, threatens the country's heritage and historical sites. During the day, ancestral groups emphasized that the 5923 law initiative seeks to privatize patrimonial assets and the recent loan approved by the Congress of the Republic. They also demanded that President Alejandro Yamatei revoke his decision to keep Consuelo Porras for 4 more years as head of the public ministry. Likewise, indigenous groups called on all communities to mobilize against the reforms of the law. The president of Iran, Sayed Ebrahim Raisi, underscored the strategic nature of Iran's relationship with Cuba during the official visit to Tehran of Cuban Vice Prime Minister Ricardo Cabrizas. At a meeting, the Iranian president stressed the importance of using the capabilities of both nations to strengthen bilateral cooperation in areas such as trade, agriculture, and public health. In this context, the parties restated the firm political will to confront the hostile actions of the United States government and the unilateral restrictive measures imposed against the peoples of Iran and Cuba. The Iranian president and the Cuban official noted the excellent state of bilateral relations characterized by a high-level political dialogue. In India, extreme weather conditions ranging from heat waves to heavy rains are wreaking havoc all across the country. At least 10 people, including a 4-year-old child, have died in floods and landslides this week after unusually heavy rains in several parts of India. A seasonally unusual deluge ahead of the annual monsoon season in the northeastern state of Assam left at least 8 people dead and over 400,000 displaced as of Wednesday. Landslides cut railway lines in several areas, making it difficult for authorities to send relief material.
There is a big flood in these areas. Everywhere there is water and water. We need ration, medicine, but the government has not provided. I request the government to give us some kind of relief materials.
We have more news coming up after a final short break. Please stay with us. Hi and welcome back. In Russia, the Subsecretary of the Security Council, Alexander Venediktov, denounced that the United States has a network of 400 biological military laboratories in the world. Security authorities in Moscow detailed that all Nazi research on medicine and bioweapons are in the hands of the United States. They also assured that the biological laboratories which were closed are reinstalled by Washington on a global scale to work to the detriment of humanity. On March 26th, Moscow revealed new facts about Washington's involvement in biolabs in Ukraine. And on Thursday, Russia can offer 25 million tons of grain for export via the port of Novosibirsk, stating from August 1st and until the end of this year, Russian permanent representative to the United Nations, Vasily Nebenzia, said, speaking at the UN Security Council meeting on conflicts and food security. According to Nebenzia, Russia continues to remain a responsible supplier of food and energy.
You assert that allegedly we are preventing agricultural products from being taken out of Ukraine by sea. However, the truth is that it is Ukraine and not Russia that continues to hold in the ports of Mykolaiv, Kherson, Krasnoyarsk, Mariupol, and Odessa 75 foreign vessels from 17 countries, and it is Ukraine that has also mined the waters.
On Thursday, the United States Congress approved over $40 billion in military and humanitarian aid package for Ukraine. The bill previously passed by the House of Representatives was voted up by the Senate on Thursday in an 86-11 vote, sending the measure to President Joe Biden to sign it. The legislation provides $6 billion for weapons, training, and financial support for Ukraine's military and $4 billion in military financing until late September, according to a House Committee on Appropriations summary of the legislation. It also includes $9 billion to replenish U.S. stocks of weapons being sent to Ukraine and nearly $4 billion for expanded U.S. military operations in Europe. Also, the group of 7 finance leaders meeting in Germany agreed on Thursday to provide Ukraine with 18.4 billion euros to pay its bills, funds that Ukraine's Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said it would speed up Kyiv's victory over Russia. Further pledges of weapons, as United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, he has authorized $100 million in additional U.S. arms equipment and supplies for Ukraine against the Russian special military operation. In 2021, a record of 59.1 million people were displaced within their countries of origin, 4 million more than in 2020, as the International Organization for Migration said on Thursday. According to this analysis, displaced persons live in 141 countries and territories, and during the last 15 years it has been mainly disasters that have caused their displacement, significantly overcoming the uprootments related to conflicts and violence. Last year, the trend continued with 23.7 million displaced people by climate-related events such as floods, storms, and cyclones. IOM warned that the expected impacts of climate change and the lack of ambitious climate action would increase displacement in the coming years. Former East Timor independence fighter and Nobel Peace Prize laureate José Ramos Horta was sworn in as president of Asia's youngest country. Crowds cheered as he then traveled by motorcade to Parliament, where a ceremony kicked off nationwide festivities commemorating independence from Indonesia, which invaded the former Portuguese colony in 1975. Ramos Horta, at age 72, who led the resistance during Indonesia's occupation, called for national reconciliation and unity as he took the oath of office. He said he expects East Timor to become the 11th member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in the next 2 years. Ramos Horta defeated Francisco Luolo Guterres, his fellow independence fighter, in April 19th election runoff.
I swear to God, to the people and on my honor, that I will fulfill with loyalty the functions that have been invested in me, will abide by and enforce the Constitution and the laws, and will dedicate all my energies and knowledge to the defense and consolidation of independence and national unity on the 20th day of May of 2022.
China's Guangzhou shipyard launched the first non-tripulated intelligent ship of national design on Wednesday. The ship was developed by the Marine Science and Engineering Laboratory in Zhuhai as a scientific research vessel capable of being remotely controlled in open water. Most of the ship's equipment, such as the power system, propulsion system, and operation support system, was also developed by Chinese engineers. It is 88.5 meters long, 14 meters wide, has a draft of 6.1 meters, and displaces about 2,000 tons. Its top speed is 18 knots. The ship's deck can accommodate 12 different observation instruments. Its construction began on July 20th, 2021, and it is expected to be operational by the end of the year. Now, with that, we've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at Telstra English. You can also join us on social media for all the latest news. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telstra English, I am Dio Martin. Thank you for watching.